In Lesson 8.6, you will write and graph inequalities. Inequalities will contain either a less than, a greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to symbol, rather than an equation which has an equal sign. Now next to these symbols, I have open circles and closed circles. That's going to be for when we graph inequalities later at the end of this lesson. If it's less than or greater than, it means it does not include that number. It's all the numbers either less than or greater than it. So we put an open circle. And if it's a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to, it's going to be a filled in circle since it can equal that number. But that won't come until we're graphing at the end. The first thing we're going to do is just write inequalities. The first example says a suitcase must weigh less than 40 pounds. So we're going to let W equal the suitcase's weight. The weight needs to be less than 40 pounds. That means it cannot include 40 pounds. It needs to be less than 40. So we would write that like this. The next example says you must be over 12 years old to play. If you must be over 12 years old to play, we're going to have A equal the person's age. The age must be greater than 12. It doesn't include 12 because it says you have to be over 12. You may want to pause the video and try the next two on your own. You must be older than 17 to see the movie. So let's have A equal the age, and the age needs to be older than 17, so greater than 17 to see the movie. And then members of a swim team must be under 15 years of age. So let's use A for the swimmer's age. The age needs to be less than 15 since they need to be under 15. This time, you must be at least 48 inches to ride the roller coaster. If you need to be at least 48, that means you could be 48 inches tall or taller. So if h is going to be the person's height, it needs to be greater than or equal to 48 inches. Now, let me just call attention to this right here. Some people see the word least and they think a less than. But if you need to be at least 48 inches, that means you need to be greater than or equal to 48 inches tall. Example 4, you must be 12 years of age or younger to order from the children's menu. So if A is going to be the person's age, the age needs to be less than or equal to 12 because they can be 12 or younger to order off the children's menu. All right, you might want to pause and try these next two on your own. You must be 18 years of age or older to vote. So your age needs to be greater than or equal to 18 because you need to be 18 years of age or older. So the age needs to be greater than or equal to 18. A fuel tank holds at most 16 gallons of gasoline. So if G is the number of gallons of gasoline in the tank, it's always going to be less than or equal to 16 gallons since it can hold at most 16. The number of gallons in the tank will always have to be less than or equal to 16. All right, the next thing we're going to do is determine whether or not an inequality is true or false. A plus 2 is greater than 8. We're going to plug in 5 for A and see if this is true or false. So 5 plus 2 is greater than 8. 5 plus 2 is 7. And 7 is not greater than 8. So therefore that inequality is false when A is 5. Next up, we're going to plug in negative 3 for x. So 10 is less than or equal to 7 minus a negative 3. Well, 7 minus a negative 3 is really 7 plus 3. Is 10 less than or equal to 10? Well, it is equal to 10, so therefore it is true. Sometimes students think that this is false because they're like, it's not less than 10. Well, it's less than or equal. It doesn't need to be both. It needs to be just one or the other. It either needs to be less than 10 or equal to 10. And since it equals to 10, it's true. Now you may want to pause the video and try the next two on your own. 18 minus 6, we want to know if that is less than 15. Well, 18 minus 6 is 12, and 12 is less than 15, so that is a true statement when n is 18. The next example, negative 3p, or negative 3 times 8. We want to know if that is greater than or equal to 24. Well, negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. And negative 24 is not greater than or equal to positive 24. Therefore, it is a false statement when p is 8. Basically, what that means is 8 is not a solution to this inequality. 18 is a solution to this one. Negative 3 is a solution to this inequality, and 5 is not a solution to this inequality. Basically, when you solve an equation, oftentimes you get just like a single number answer, where with an inequality, it's not just a single number, it's a whole span of numbers. For example, number 7, if you wanted to graph the numbers n that are less than 3, you would want to put a circle on 3 on your number line, and then make a heavy arrow to the left showing that all the numbers to the left of 3 are solutions to this inequality. Basically, any number on our number line that falls within this arrow here would be a solution to this inequality. In example 8, it says the numbers n that are greater than or equal to 3. Means we're going to put a circle on 3, and this time we're going to fill in the circle because all the numbers directly to the right, or greater than or equal to 3, are solutions to this inequality. Now the reason why we did the open circle here is because it was not including 3, but rather than going all the way over to the 2, we put it here on the 3 because there are some numbers between 2 and 3 that are solutions to this inequality. So basically you want to put a circle on this number that you have, and then fill it in if it's one with an equal sign, and leave it open if it does not have an equal sign, and then figure out if you're going to make your arrow to the right or the left. You may want to pause the video and try these next ones on your own. I want the numbers x that are less than 1. That means I'm going to put a circle on the 1, and I'm going to leave it open because it does not equal a 1. I want just the numbers that are less than 1. The numbers that are less than 1 are all the numbers to the left of 1 on the number line. In our next example, I want the numbers x that are greater than 2. So I'm going to put a circle on the 2. I am not going to color it in because it does not include the number 2. I want all the numbers greater than 2, which is everything directly to the right of the number 2 on the number line. Now for the numbers x that are less than or equal to 5, I'm going to want a filled in circle on the 5 since it can include 5, and then the ones that are less than or equal to 5 go to the left. And for the last example, the numbers x that are greater than or equal to negative 4 means I'm going to put an open circle on the negative 4 and then fill it in since it can include negative 4. And I want the ones greater than or equal to negative 4, which are going to be to the right. Now when I made my arrows, I did it up above the number line just because sometimes it's hard to see it if you don't do it above like that. One other helpful hint, the symbol that looks the most like the letter L is the less than, and the symbol that you could creatively turn into a G is the greater than. That might help you to be able to read your inequalities, because sometimes students in the past have not learned which is the less than and which is the greater than. They always just learned in elementary that it eats the bigger number. So to be able to read the inequality, you have to know if it's saying less than or greater than. The one that looks most like the less than symbol is obviously less than, and the one that can be turned into a G is greater than.